Hey everybody, with my GMC Denali road bike having its second or technically third flat of this summer, this time in the rear, I decided it's time to go ahead and replace these 9-year-old Surface Sika tires with a new set of tires. So let's go and have a look at what I got. So I decided to take a gamble and purchase literally the cheapest pair of road bike tires you can buy on Amazon. These are branded as Hycline, and they are a folding 25mm tire, 700C. And this is how you get them. They come in a plastic bag. This right here. Made in China, of course. These tires have pretty decent reviews. And the kicker about this is these tires were $23.99 for the set. So $12 a tire. The Surface tires, for example, this is one of my older ones. These, when I bought them at REI back in 2014, this is actually an older one again, but the ones that are on my Denali bike, when I bought them brand new, I want to say I spent between $50 and $65 for the set. And this is exactly the same type of tire that's currently on the Denali bike. It's a 700 by 25C wire bead tire with Surface Flat Protection System, or FPS. You can see here, or maybe able to see, it is a 700 by 25 130 PSI max tire. Again, wire bead, non-foldable. Now this tire does have a pretty significant amount of wear on it. But we can see that the tread itself is pretty thick. There is supposedly a layer inside the carcass to help prevent flats. Now I can say that the Sika tires do a pretty good job at helping to prevent flats, but when they wear down, of course, the tread gets thinner and the chances of getting flats increases. So I'm not sure what TPI these tires are. I want to say they might be 30, I don't know. So the new tires that I just got are, I think, 30 or 35 TPI. Sidewalls are pretty thin to help make them a little more flexible and lighter. Again, we're going to say this tire costs between $25 and $30 a piece. Again, I think I paid roughly $60 for the set back in 2014. Now I looked on Amazon and there is a Surface folding tire, I think was $30 or $35 just for one tire. Alright, so these Hycline tires, they're actually sold under a couple of different brands on Amazon. There's also a brand called Mohiga, or I guess that's how you pronounce it. Exact same tire, except they were more expensive. They did have more reviews. I guess people had purchased that brand more. But the Hyclines are cheaper. This tire itself here, this is the black sidewall. There is also a gum wall option. And the gum wall version, let's just say that from the reviews and what people were sharing on Amazon, the gum wall, the issue with the gum wall tires is the rubber, it wasn't very consistent. Like when the tire is rolling, it looks like your tire is not straight, but it's actually just kind of cheap manufacturing. But anyways, we're dealing with the solid black tire. So that being said, let me go ahead and get these zip ties off of here and let's get a closer look at these things. Okay, so I've gotten both tires unbundled and they've had some time to rest. The other one's over here on the floor. But I'll say for $12, my initial impressions are very good about these tires. Probably the only other example of cheap tires would be, I don't know, for folding tires would be the tires you can find at like department stores like Walmart or Target, places like that. I was at Walmart yesterday just looking at the tires, and what they have are tires that are branded Blackburn, which, to my understanding, Blackburn is actually owned by Bell, and Walmart used to carry Bell tires, and let me just say, those folding Bell tires, I don't really like them. Now for road bikes, the smallest tire they had for 700C at Walmart was 35 millimeter, which is quite fat. These are 25s. The sidewalls, not super thick. Unlike the tires at Walmart, they had really thick sidewalls. Just picking the box up, you knew you was getting a heavy tire, and I'd hate to imagine trying to ride on one of them things. But this tire here, at least the tread surface, it feels pretty sturdy. Like there would be somewhat decent flat protection. Of course, when the tire wears out, you'll lose some of that. For example, we got this Sika tire here. Now, this is not going to be a very scientific comparison because I don't really have a good scale. But just from weight, I can tell you this tire on the right, or my right, it'd be your left, weighs just a tad more than this Sika wire bead tire. Now, the Sika folding tire, or the surface folding tire, probably weighs a little less. So if we look, for example, inside of this tire here, you can see the carcass of it. You should be able to see. I think these were 35 TPI, something like that. I'm not sure what TPI the Sika tires are, but if we look inside the tire, now, of course, there's a good bit of dust in here because it's literally been sitting in my shed for quite some time. But, I mean, to me, looks kind of similar. The Sika tire sidewall, I think, is a little thinner than this tire here. But one of the reasons why I purchased these tires is because I'm not doing serious competitions. I just need a tire that's cheap and let's see if it'll be reliable. That'd be the ultimate test, is when I mount these and start going for some rides. The tread pattern on this, I mean, it's nice, I guess. At least with these, they do have sort of a tread pattern, that way you can monitor tread wear. Now these Sika tires are a little different. They don't have a tread pattern in the direct center where most of the contact is made. They do have little tread patterns along the sides, but this here really is the part that contacts the road the most. And from my experience with these tires, the Sika tires, you don't know they're worn out until you start seeing threads. So they are a little more difficult to monitor for tread wear because there's no tread pattern. Again, with this tire, there is a little pattern in there. I should note there's no branding at all on these tires. That's about as generic as you can get. There's literally no brand at all. They literally just tell you how much to inflate your tires to. These are rated for 100 PSI, whereas the Sika tire is rated for 130. Now those Sika tires, I'd never really put more than 100 in them because, I mean, even at 100 PSI, you start feeling every single little imperfection in the road with that pressure. But the thing is, you cannot run road bike tires on too low of air pressure, otherwise you run the risk of having pinch flats or snake bites. I had one of those a little while back. The most recent flat was due to an object getting in the tire, which I'll figure out what that is once I get that back tire off the road bike. But again, my initial impressions are pretty good with these. For $12 a piece, when you buy them as a pair, that's a bargain in my opinion. Even if these don't last very long, even if they wear out kind of quick, still, I mean, for $12, it's not too bad. Now the Sika tires, I want to say I got either 2,000 or 3,000 miles out of a set. Now with my tires, what I do is I keep a watch on the tread wear, and the back of course tends to wear faster. And when the back starts getting low or lower, I swap it to the front and swap the front to the back, and I end up wearing that tire out and then replace the set. I did that with the current tires that's on the Denali bike right now. I want to say this tire here, this tire here was my previous set of tires on that bike. This one started out on the rear, and I let it wear down probably about 50%, and then I swapped it up to the front and put the front on the back, and I ran it until I started to see threads. Now the current tires that are on the bike are not completely worn out, but in recent years I haven't really been riding much, and I haven't been putting the amount of miles I know I'm putting on a set of tires. But the tires that's on it right now are 9 years old, and my last ride I had to I don't know how long I was running them low, but the rear tire was, it lost air, and I didn't realize until I made a turn and my rear slid a little bit. So I think it's safe to say just go and get a new set of tires, and that's what I did here. So anyway, enough of the talking. What we're going to do next is we're going to install these on my yellow Denali bike. Okay everybody, so now we got the bike outside on the back porch on the stand. Now let's go ahead and get started on this thing. So I'm going to take the rear off first and deal with it. It's already flat. Let me shift this down into a faster gear. Makes it a little easier getting your rear wheel off. Okay, so we got a busted tube back here. It's got a really small hole in it. So I think showing up real well here. I can't even see my camera screen, it's so bright out here. But it's super hot out here too. So the story behind this was I was out for a bike ride last week. Something got in the tire, and the tire ran down. Didn't notice it till I was making a left, and the back of the bike kind of slid because the tire was like this. But of course, since I ride at night, I had to find a spot with like a street light. That way I could pull off on the side of the road in the neighborhood and change the tube out during my ride. Well, I thought everything was good to go, but there was something in this tire, because I put the brand new inner tube in it. A couple miles off the road, it was flat again. Ended up walking home. So, moral of the story is I always check inside your tire for any objects that shouldn't be there. I'm telling you guys, it is hot out here today. It's like 91 or 92 degrees with a heat index of about 100 to 102. Alright. Get this old tire off. Okay. So this brand new inner tube has a pinhole in it somewhere. I'll have to patch that. And we'll figure out where the object is in the tire later. Anyways, let's go ahead and get our new tire mounted. So I think since we have a folded bead tire, I'm going to just put the first part of the tire on, and then I'll sneak the tube in there, and then we'll put the other half on. You know, these folding tires is a little new to me. I've never actually worked with a folding tire before, so bear with me. So that side actually slipped right on. Not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Some tires are really hard to get on, while others just slip right on. Let's get our freshly patched tube in there. Okay, let's go ahead and start walking the other part of the tire on. Careful not to pinch the tube. Okay, so we got the first one on. Seems to me that the bead is a little loose on there, so we want to keep a watch on it when we put air in this. Take our time with it. Careful to watch and make sure that the bead isn't escaping out of the rim somewhere. Tell you what, boys and girls, we're getting into the dog days of summer. It's the time of year where you start wishing the summer to be over with. Start getting ready for fall. The only thing I don't like about these tubes from Walmart is their stems are not very long, so it can be a little difficult to inflate these things the first go. Gotta pull this down through here a little bit. Okay, slowly inflate. And to keep a good watch on it, to make sure that the bead is not too high in spots. Because the last thing you want to happen is for your bead to be too high in a spot and it actually allow the tube to escape and go kapow. Okay, so I got these actually at 80 psi. Kind of in the middle between a super hard tire and kind of a soft ride. They're good and firm. But for example, let me go and show you this other tire here. You can see what I'm talking about. So, if you look here, bear with me here. So if you look here, you may be able to see how there's this line here. Tell you what, boys and girls, even my camera complained it was too hot outside. It overheated, so I had to come in, let it cool down, and I'm just going to go ahead and show you what I was talking about earlier in here where it's nice and cool. So I took the front wheel off the bike, and here's the rear with the new tire on it. So what I was talking about earlier is you can see this bead here, and of course here is the one on the old tire. the Sika tire, the bead rides a little tighter. Now if the bead is super tight, then you'll have a heck of a time mounting and unmounting the tire. Whereas if the bead is a little loose, a lot of times you can unmount and mount the tire without even using a tire lever. This one here didn't need the tire lever to get it back on, but I had to be careful when I was putting air in and make sure that the bead was seating evenly and there wasn't any significantly high spots. And I noticed on the customer images on Amazon, I noticed there was at least one photo of this tire kind of riding high. So flip around to the other side. Apparently on this tire they only had the size mentioned on one side of it. So we flip around to the other side. Let me see here. Yep, right here. So you can see the 700 by 25 and you can see the Made in China showing right there. Just gotta be careful when you're mounting these, because again, when the bead is a little loose like that, you want to carefully monitor it when you're airing this up. That way the bead isn't too high in a certain spot, because if it's too high it can actually pop off the tire, off the rim, and your tube will blow out. The last set of tires I had that were kind of like this were a set of Michelin Dynamic 700 by 28Cs, what I used to run on my Denali bike years ago. But anyways, I'm going to get this front tire swapped. I'm not going to do it on camera, because obviously my camera does not like the heat out there. So we're going to get that front swapped and get it aired up, and we'll do a comparison. Now, actually, before I do that, I want y'all to see how these look side by side. So again, both the old tire and this new tire are 700 by 25C. So you can maybe be able to see right there. Looks like the new tire is slightly smaller than the old tire. So again, not too bad. Okay, so now it's a little later in the day. The sun has finally went down behind the trees, so we ain't got direct sunlight on this back deck no more. So I went ahead and changed out the front. And I will say one negative about these tires is they are a bit more difficult to get evenly seated because they fit a little loose. If you're not careful, you can have high spots and low spots, or even worse, you're going to have a spot where you have such a high spot that the bead of the tire sticks over the edge of the rim. And this is especially going to be a problem if your rims don't have hooks in them around the very edge. These have hooks in them, but there's some rims out there that don't. And you could easily have a blowout if you're not careful. But they're on, and can't see they're perfect. I'm actually going to have to loosen this wheel up and straighten it a little bit. See, it's off a little bit. But while it's not exactly perfect, I'd say it's not too bad. I'll know for sure when I go for a ride if it feels like my front end's going when I'm riding. And there's a look at the back. So this is the back. Again, very similar deal. Okay, so it looks like all I need to do is loosen this up and reattach it to make sure this is good and straight, and this thing will be ready to ride. Another thing I need to do is patch this new inner tube that has a tiny pinhole in it and figure out where the object is in this tire, which I'll focus on that in a later video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for a ride this evening, and probably won't be carrying the camera for this ride, but go for a ride and report my findings on these tires, see if they're worth the savings in money. I mean, for $12 a tire, it's quite a bargain. Okay, everybody, so I've gone for a ride tonight, and let's just say that heat out there, while the sun was down and the heat wasn't as bad, the humidity was quite bad. Went through almost a full bottle of water. Went for 24 miles tonight. And let's just say with these tires, let's get you a look at them. So first look at the front. You may be able to see, none of the light isn't the best in here, but you can probably see the tread there. Come out back, look at the rear. They are starting to break in. Now I can say, just let me be clear about these tires. They will need to break in for you to get optimal performance out of them. So, as mentioned, 24 miles tonight. I want to say for about the first 10 to 15 miles, the bike felt weird. Was to say that it felt kind of weird. You definitely wouldn't want to push it into the corners hard, and that's kind of just general with every tire I've had when they were brand new. There is a brief wearing period. These here, at first, the bike felt like I constantly had the brakes applied, like there was some sort of braking force. It's like, I don't know, it's like the tires were gripping the road so well that they were kind of holding me back. And there was a couple of times where it felt like my back tire was flat. And I stopped, I'd get off the bike and look at it, and it's totally fine. It's just, these tires needed some time to wear in, but once we got to about 15 miles or so, things started to get better. The bike started to seem faster. It didn't seem like it was getting held back. Closer to the end of the ride, I'd say that these tires, it felt more familiar to how I'm used to this bike handling. Now, of course, I'm not going to say it was exactly the same as the Sika tires that were on here, but by the time I was getting near the end of the ride, it was getting harder and harder to tell a difference. Now, of course, you're not going to win races on these tires because, again, their generic tires are not built to the same standard as the more expensive tires, but I'd say, I mean, like I said, after they wear in or break in, rather, they are doing better. And I got them at 90 psi right now, so, or 90 or 95, and I mean they say inflate to 100. So I rode on a mixture of roads tonight. Some asphalt was brand new, freshly paved. Some of the asphalt was pretty weathered. One thing I can say right away, these tires are extremely quiet. They're very quiet. They're actually quieter than the Surface Sika tires that were on here. And maybe it could be because of, I'm going to say, the slightly softer rubber compound that's on these tires. And I do think that soft rubber compound is going to translate to increased wear. I'm pretty sure these are probably going to wear out faster than the Surface tires. But then again, I mean, $12 a tire. So, I mean, you can't expect them to last forever. But hey, I mean, for $12 a tire, if they perform fairly decent, I mean, I'd still say it's a bargain. Now, these tires will definitely be good for, I'd say, an older bike, or maybe maybe a low end to moderate bike, kind of like this here. Now, this is not a stock Denali bike like the ones that were sold at Walmart. Now, this one came from Walmart originally, but I've upgraded the wheel set, the crank set, the bars. A lot of things on this bike have been upgraded. It's almost totally different from a stock bike. But anyway, I can say that, I mean, my initial experience overall, once the tires started to break in, overall it's not that bad. Now, I'm going to need to ride some more to really make a determinate answer on whether these tires I can recommend or not. I mean, they are definitely a bargain for sure. I mean, $12 a tire, don't get me wrong, they're definitely a bargain. But you can't expect high-end performance out of cheap Chinese generic tires. But, like I say, after a few more rides, what I might do is I might post another video update on these tires and just give you guys an update on what I think about them. And by that point, I'll be making a decision on whether to buy a second set of these for when I restore my blue Denali bike. So anyways, that's it for this video. It's a first look and installation of some of the cheapest road bike tires you can buy on Amazon. So anyways, hope y'all enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.